All right, here we go. Send the feed your way. Have a good show.
Thanks.
Welcome to an enlightened hour of interactive talk. This is Guided Spirit Conversations with host Marla Goldberg. In this program, we spotlight guests from all over the globe who have helped others change their lives, and we'll provide you with the tips, tools, and techniques that you need to help make a difference in your own life. Now, here is Marla Goldberg.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? I am great on this side of the microphone, and I am really excited to introduce you to Tanya Gabriel, today's guest. Tanya is a spiritual intuitive and a personal growth leader. She has been featured and quoted in periodicals like the New York Times, Los Angeles Times, USA Today, Entertainment Weekly, ESPN Magazine, Essence Magazine, to name a few. Tanya is the founder and creator of Numerology Academy, as well as founder and host of her podcast, Star Code. Tanya's new book, The Ultimate Guide to Numerology, which unlocks the sacred messages of birthdays, names, addresses, and so much more. In addition to what I've just mentioned, Tanya is a gifted classical composer and has performed worldwide at all of the most amazing theaters. Welcome, Tanya.
Thank you so much, Marla. It's so good to be here.
I'm so happy that you're here. And I'm so happy to have this subject that we're going to talk about because you're my first numerologist in almost 2 years of recording. So, and the fact that you marry astrology and numerology together is so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
So let's start. How did you come about even learning these modalities and realizing that putting them together makes it such a powerful union?
Yeah, as always, it's a journey you take and you make discoveries, right? Because you learn along the way. So when I was a teenager, my dad was a poet, a musician, and he dabbled in astrology. He loved the esoteric. And he introduced me when I was 13 to astrology. He showed me my chart. And back then there were no computers. So he hand drew it based on the whole house system.
Wow.
And anyway, I fell in love. I was like, whoa, this is so cool. And he showed me all my sisters' charts. I have 3 younger sisters. And, I was like, this is amazing. So that was my intro. He gave me some books to read. And then when I got to college, I loved those esoteric bookstores. And so I would walk over them, some of my breaks, and I stumbled across a book about Pythagorean numerology. I was like, Pythagoras, he's a mathematician. What is this thing, numerology? So I read it. I was like, oh my God, your birthday has frequencies and your birth name is, letters that add up to numbers, and a whole new world opened up. So I kept them separate for quite a while. I thought, nothing of combining them. And then when I started my online business, I started getting clients, and I realized in reading their charts that the numbers in the astrology chart, the degree numbers of the planets, the degree numbers of the houses, have a resonance. And I started realizing, well, why are we not interpreting not only the normal astrology stuff, but also the numbers that show up? And that's not only in your birth chart, but also now, looking at what's going on now. So I started doing that, and I realized, oh my God, like these are sister divination arts. They belong together. And as usual, we've been pulling things apart and boxing things up in the last thousands of years. It's just how the mind has somehow been able to deal with information. It's a very patriarchal way too, to box things, So I thought, I understand the resonance of the whole symphony. I talk music because I'm a composer. So, I brought the different instrumentalists together, and I thought, oh my God, we've got to combine these. So I introduced that to the Western world. I know that in India, they do look at numbers. So I'm not the first one to do it. I'm not familiar with what they do at all, but I had never heard of combining it. And so now I teach it. I have a whole online class, for people who are either numerologists or astrologers or just want to learn, to come and understand that these two sister divination arts belong together, and they should have never been separated.
I think
Yeah.
it's so fascinating because I've been going and getting readings since I was 15 years old, and I've been going to an astrologer, various ones, since I was 18 years old. So I'm not unfamiliar with what it's about, and I've had numerology done, but the idea of putting them together and working them together is amazingly fascinating to me. So, how, when you work with clients, how is it that you work? Do you start with their name, their birth date, where they were born, what time they were born? What do you ask for?
I ask for all those things: your birthday and your birth certificate name. That's for the numerology. Then, of course, the birthday and the birth time and birthplace is for the astrology. And I create what's called your star code map out of that info. And then I read from that what needs to be looked at. And really, the first thing I do for private clients I get on the phone with, is their current name. And the reason I do that, there's a totally different branch of numerology, your current name, and the name you choose to use right now. The reason I do that is it shows me how easy or difficult it is for you to interpret that birth code, that star code map, that birth promise. And I want it to be as easy as possible. So the current name is different. It has a challenging or positive frequency attached to it, to the number that it resonates to. Whereas your birth numbers are not challenging or fortunate, they are neutral. It's what you make of it. So it's a very different branch. And I do that first because, as I said, I want you to be using all your wonderful gifts to the greatest extent possible. So, yeah.
Which is amazing. So when you do that, so we were talking before the show started about women and how they change their names. And there's a difference between your given name on your birth certificate to a married name, or I guess a divorce name. But when somebody changes the spelling of their name, how does that shift? Because, for example, my sister, her name is Robin, and she was born Robbin. That's the name she was given, but she changed it to Robyn at some point in her life, early in her life. How does that change? And if she gave you Robyn instead of the birth certificate, how does that change things?
Well, it changes it completely because every letter resonates to a number, right? So taking out a B, for example, removes a number. So the total changes. And the second thing is the current name calculation is completely different than the birth name calculation. So even if she or he, whoever it is, uses their exact birth name to the T, the number would still be different because I'm using a totally different alphabet for the current name calculation. Okay, so the one uses what's called the Western, which most people who know numerology know the Western system. And that's where A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3, et cetera, et cetera. You go through Z. The Chaldean system is based on the ancient Chaldean priests. They used it based on sound. So half the letters in that alphabet resonate to different numbers. And the calculation of a current name has 4 golden rules. It's very complex. You learn it in my program, but it's not easy. It's not a straight addition, in other words. There's a lot of rules, and you have to align it to the birthday too. Anyway, long story short, it is not the same thing, even if you use the same birth name. Yeah.
And so everybody has a unique star code.
Oh,
that
yeah.
would be a normal thing to assume, right?
Even twins, because they have a different name. So, identical twins may have the same astrology chart, but even if they're born 4 minutes apart, their houses start at a different degree because the degree changes every 4 minutes. So yeah, there's, even with identical twins, you get different frequencies. Yeah.
That's interesting because I didn't realize that it changed that frequent, like a 4 minute could change a degree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. But it's amazing because if someone goes to a numerologist and they give the name that they prefer rather than the name on their birth certificate, that could skew the information they receive.
Well, we are very specific with our, what we ask for. So, and my assistants make sure that if it doesn't look right, we send out an email and say, is this your birth certificate name? So yeah. The thing about current names is, I just want to point this out because it's very, very important. Most people have more than one current name. They have something on their credit cards, they have something on their checkbooks, they have something else on their bills, then they have social media, and then they have their nickname. And some people have 2, 3, 4 different current names. Now that's going to dissipate your energy. You just want one current name everywhere across the board that resonates to one fortunate number. And so this is another thing I want to share, because people may have 4 fortunate names. It doesn't matter. It dissipates you, because it's like giving the universe 2 calling cards and saying, you choose, or 3 calling cards. And it just dissipates. It's like, what do you mean I have to choose? It's confusing, right?
It's so fascinating. It makes you want to change everything into having your full birth certificate name or marriage certificate name on your.
Well, if it's fortunate, if it's, you don't, yeah.
So, and if it's not fortunate, how does that work? Or what do you suggest?
If it's not fortunate, I change one letter in your first or last name, or I add a letter in your first or last name, or I subtract a letter in your first or last name. So I have to work with the calculator and just figure out a name that you like, that I can tell you works. And I always give 2. We have an actual blueprint that you can order, and you will get 2 alternatives that you can choose from if your name doesn't resonate to a fortunate number. So yeah, there's ways to change it.
I love that. You can change your name or change a letter and make yourself more fortunate. So
yeah.
This goes into your star code map, which helps to manifest greater wealth and joy and fulfillment, I would assume.
Oh yeah, the whole point, I'm a wealth astrologist, and I use wealth not in terms of money, but in terms of well-being, because that's what the word really means. The old English meaning of wealth is well-being. So abundance, as you know, is not about money. It's about a feeling. It's about how you live your life. So this is how I approach the idea of mining, meaning exploring your code and your gifts to the greatest extent possible in a joyful way, in a playful way that takes the seriousness and the drudgery out of life, which so many people think life has to be that way, and it doesn't. So this is a playful way to just understand who you are at soul level and take advantage of it. And in the meantime, also change your name if you need to make it easier for you, because a lot of people do need that change. Yeah.
That is great to know. And it just, because like you said, wealth and abundance are really more about not necessarily what you have in the bank, but what you have in the bank of your heart, or the bank of your emotions. And yes, financial wealth can make things easier, could make things difficult. There's no, finite way of looking at anything. So
yeah, I mean, financial wealth to me comes as a result of feeling abundant. And of course, we need money to live. Yes. However, if we go for the end result before we feel abundant, we're not going to get there. And that's, we can't use our mind to create results. It's got to come from internally. It's an internal battery that gets lit up with joy and excitement and desire and, all those wonderful things children have. You just watch kids.
Oh my God, they're so wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. So that really is. And the code, and I think we spoke earlier before the call, and I said children love numerology. It's so much fun because, we got 10 fingers, we have numbers, they get it. Hey, I'm born on this day. What does that mean? They're so open. And this is what we've lost. We've lost that creativity, that joy, that imagination. We need imagination to feel abundant. Abundance does not exist without you acknowledging the universe is an expansive place,
I agree. So agree. So then can you look at a person's forecast map and help them leverage the current and future windows of opportunities? And how are you able to do that?
Yeah, so you have many ways to see potential in your star code map right now and moving forward. And that is through numerology, through your personal cycles, and through astrology, through the transits, progressions, and solar arcs, how they impact your birth code, your birth chart. So I look at all of those things put together. So like I said, it's like the conductor of a symphony. I need to know what every instrumentalist is doing. And then I give you whatever your questions are. We look deeply. I tune into your guides. So it's like an entryway, it's a gateway into your inner cosmos, your soul code. And then I read whatever it is. So it really depends on what the person is looking for, right? What their question is.
That sounds so amazing. And you pay so much attention to the frequencies of of both sides, the name and then the astrological piece of it.
Yeah, you know what, the name, that is important. You know, every letter has a symbolic meaning. If you look at the letter A, for example, just as an example, it looks like a diaphragm. And it literally is the first thing you do when you're born. You open your mouth, and it literally means breathing, beginning, you know, so it's breathe into your life. That's the letter A. So people who have A's in the beginning of their name, whether it's the first letter or second letter, the first vowel, are leaders. They're active. Action starts with A. And you start noticing words that have that letter. So I can go through all the letters of the alphabet and describe them to you in a symbolic way, and then give you the meaning. And then you look at your own name differently and your own initials. And, you know, that's just one little thing right there, you know?
Yeah, that sounds amazing. So, okay, I've got to ask about these classes. How long do your programs last, or do you have like a course, you know, like an intermediate, a beginning course that lasts so many weeks, and then intermediate, and how do you have that breakdown?
Well, it's all designed to be at your own pace. So Numerology Academy Level 1 has 7 modules. They're around 2 hours long with PDFs to support you. And we have monthly calls that are free for the rest of your life, where I answer any of your questions. And that's level 1. And you can go as fast or as slow as you want to. And you can be certified if you want to. And then I have the intermediate level, and then I have future forecast formula, and I have other courses as well on abundance. So it really depends on how deep you want to go into it. But those calls are important because they help you study your own chart and evolve, you know, because we're all learning all the time. That's the point, right? So those monthly calls are designed to help all the students just, you know, get excited about what's happening now and ask those questions.
And do you have classes for children? Because you were saying how children love numerology. Do you have like Children 101 where they can, you know, learn if they choose?
I love that idea. I don't, you know, I know that about children because my daughter would bring her friends home. That's how I discovered children. And I also went into her school. She went to a Waldorf school, so they were very open to frequency. And, you know, it's not as competitive. It's very imaginative. So I went in and I talked to the kids, and they were so excited. So I will one day maybe do that. It's a good
Maybe that's a new avenue for you, a new stream. But as you were telling me about it, I just kept feeling I could see children, especially I don't know if they're calling them crystal children now, but these open children, you know, who would probably find this to be like a cool party kind of trick. But we'll talk more about what you do when we come back. We've got to take a quick break, so stay tuned. And for you out there, please feel free to call in and talk to Tanya. The number is 888-346-9141. We'll see you on the other side.
All right, great job. We're all clear. Back in a couple minutes.
Thank you. This was great. I see children learning this. So
yeah, I think that's a great idea. I'm going to write that down. Children's course.
Why not? I mean, you know, they're so open, like you had mentioned, and some of them are so sensitive. So my assistant, Teresa, her eldest son is so intuitive, and he's 7 years old. So I'm thinking he would be like this perfect candidate to learn something like this for fun, not because he's going to necessarily be a numerologist, but how it might be able to help, you know, when you're deciding to, you know, if you can choose a date to take a test, or what's going to happen on that date when you have to take a test, or when you have big things coming in your life. It's such an amazing tool. It's like a dowsing rod for children in a way.
Yeah, my daughter is probably more expert than I am because she's so intuitive and loves it. Like you said, like a child, it's play for her. So she comes up with these amazing, you know, explanations for certain things. And I'm sitting there going, wow, you want to teach the course for me? Like, this is really cool.
How old is your daughter?
She's now 17, but she's
so young.
Yeah, but she's known and dabbled since I think age 10. She started getting really interested and asked questions and learned even the astrology, not just she does astrology too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's easier because they have the ability to retain so much more.
Yeah.
The older you get, you've got so much going on. Your brain gets so filled with
Yeah.
to-dos and all these stressors of life that absorption is not as simple as it is when you're young,
Yeah. It's
when you're a
true.
child.
Yeah, and their brain's growing fast. It's
Yeah.
firing up.
And isn't this a positive something, a positive seed tool? That's what I want to call it, a seed
Mhm.
tool to help them grow and guide their lives in
Oh,
a
yeah.
positive way.
Oh, yeah. Especially, see, I'm known for interpreting things in a positive way. So there are a lot of astrologers who will, go into the doom and gloom of certain things. And I've taught Clara that way. So she is really good at looking at, well, how can I make the most out of this situation? And kids really understand that you just have to play with the numbers. You just have to understand how to use them, not to get them to defeat you or to put you down in any way. So it's not a science to tell you what to do. It's a science to improve your
Guide your
life.
ship. Well, it helps you guide your ship, as I
All right,
like to
sorry,
say.
sorry to interrupt, Marla, but we're coming back.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're listening to Guided Spirit Conversations. To reach Marla Goldberg or her guest today, you're invited to call in to the program at 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. If you'd rather send an email, the address is guidedspiritconversations@gmail.com. Now, back to this week's program.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. If you're just joining us now, Tanya Gabriel is my guest today, and she is amazing. What she does is amazing. So, on top of being a spiritual intuitive and a growth leader, Tanya has married two amazing modalities, astrology and numerology, to come up with the star code. And she's the host of her own podcast, Star Code. You can get a hold of Tanya when the show is over. If you want to reach out to her at Tanya, Tania, Gabriel, GABRIELLE.com. And she is offering free weekly star code video forecasts on her podcast, on her website, as well as an free online masterclass called Astro Numerology Discover Your Divine Blueprint. And you go on her website and you go TanyaGabriel.com/numbers. Oh my God, Tanya, you have so many wonderful gifts for everyone on your website.
I love giving free things away. It's my way of sharing. I think we reach into people's hearts when they first can explore without any financial investment, and it's like a friend. You start a conversation and you share freely. And I feel that we need to all be doing more of that so that people can decide what feels right and tune within without first having to put down, money. And money is an energy exchange. So we need to feel first whether the energy is aligned with us, whether we sync with that energy. So that's why I also just love sharing the good news about the stars. And I do that a lot on YouTube and my website. So,
and it's a pay it forward because you're giving something, which will help somebody.
Yeah.
And that is an exchange. It's an energy exchange, and it brings it back to you. I don't believe that you give out anything, even if you give it out without expecting anything, universally, energetically, you will receive because of the generosity of heart and spirit.
That's what we talked about at the onset, is feel abundant, share your abundance freely, and it'll come back to you. And you do it without that expectation because you're living in the moment. You're not even looking at the future. You're just saying, I feel really good and I want to share this right now, and that's all you need to do. Yeah.
It's so true. I have to tell you, when you sent back my information form, and there was a question I asked, which was, what is your tip living a happy and fulfilling life? I loved your response. And now I've never done this before, reading somebody's response back, but your response I thought was just so spot on wonderful. Because I don't know if you remember what you wrote, but it
No.
was absolute total engagement with life, understanding that goals based on linear thinking are flexible guidelines, but must not be confused with conscious living. Linear thinking is very limited. Life is not about getting from point A to point B. Linear thinking drags us down spiritually and emotionally. Knowledge is not the same as inner knowing. One is based on the past, the other is on the present, conscious and aware. Beauty, joy, and mystery are not linear and logical. You cannot describe eternity, spirituality, or music that moves you to tears. Intuition and inspiration are the language of spirit. Intuitive engagement puts you in touch with the eternal. You can look at anything joyfully, or you can look at everything with a sense of foreboding and misery. Your experience of joy and misery are born within you. That is brilliant. I mean, it just gave me goosebumps when I read it the first time and the second.
Yeah, thank you. It's just very simple, really, right? I mean,
It's so simple, but it's like, oh my God, there's a whole lot of teaching just on these 4 paragraphs. Brilliant.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Can you now you talk about sacred geometry and how this is all ties into sacred geometry. Is there an easy explanation to that?
Oh gosh, well, our universe is built on, they say the computer code ones and zeros, right? The universe also has sacred geometry, and it is the language of the cosmos. So I'm sure with all of the other civilizations living out there, they have the same language because, our earth is round and, it just is what it is. So when we understand what those symbols mean, and I mean not here, but literally feel the wholeness of life, and then we understand the circle and that life just continues forever. And then you start understanding the numbers, what they mean, like 8 is infinity, so it must mean power and strength. And so the symbols are to be meditated on. You can take a course like Numerology Academy, you can learn what they mean. But I think the best way is the experiential way always, and I'm not saying you have to sit cross-legged and meditate. I'm just saying you can lie in bed, you can sit outside, you can take a walk and just take that silent time, and you will see the universe is so perfect. It's so beautiful. It's not chaos as, some believe. It truly is a remarkable sequence of numbers and geometry that just keeps evolving in the most unbelievable way. I mean, I'm sitting here going, I know nothing. This is amazing.
Well,
yeah.
When you know how vast everything is, you do feel like a grain of sand in a world.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The small, insignificant thing when you have so many really major significant things. And there are people that walk around with their egos out to here, and which is like as far as I could spread my arms or bigger. And the reality of it is you're no bigger than a grain of sand either.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you think you are, then you are not learning, you're not evolving. You have ceased to become a seeker. Once you cease the seeking part of it, that's the end. You're not growing.
I love that, the seeking part of it, because life, it's the journey. What do you do on a journey? You seek, whether it's education or relaxation or information, it's seeking.
Yeah.
And, I think when you stop seeking, you really sort of stop existing on full throttles.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's amazing. Could you tell us an inspiring story? I don't want to read off my thing, but I know you've got a few of them, but share with something that you know, without mentioning names, of course, confidentiality, but that was really inspiring, the shift or the information.
I think you mean personally for me?
Well, then your practice, somebody you've, or it could be personally for you, but with something you've worked with your modality.
Oh gosh, a specific story, because I
You could do a general story. You could
Yeah.
say, I had a 7-year-old child come in and, he was having traumas or dramas or nightmares, and through his whatever, we found this or that. I mean, it's just like that kind of thing. So that gives people an understanding.
Well, I think, I don't remember the readings I give, but what I can tell you is that the spiritual validation part of it is what excites me the most, because when I have somebody who comes in with an issue, whether it's a marriage issue or, I want a career, like a lot of career questions these days, people changing careers, and I look at their code and I validate who they are, and they just breathe like, oh my God, thank you for sharing that. They already know it. It's an inner knowing, but I'm just showing them in black and white or color. This is what your code says, and it's totally fine to pursue that side and leave behind what you thought to be true, what's been imposed on you externally. And so many people are set free. That's my whole point, is to set people free from indoctrination. There's a lot of indoctrination, and our beliefs are actually indoctrination because they're hand-me-downs. Only experiential living is truly you. And so that's what I go for in every reading. I don't have a specific example because I truly do not remember.
That's fine. I just thought that, there's something that shifted, somebody, and they called you and said, oh my God, because of this,
Yeah, I get that all the
I have
time.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the great thing about what you're sharing is that what you're saying is you let somebody know you are able to see them. And a lot of people don't feel seen or heard. And when you share back to them who they are, it's like, oh my God, they get me. They know who I am. So that's an amazing gift.
It is, and it speaks to how we need to spend time alone and not become codependent on partners or other relationships, because then we're not listening to what's true to ourselves. The codependency side is what's really being stripped away in the astrology right now. There's a huge event that just happened in January 2020. It's called a stellium, which is 3 or more planets, in this case 4. Pluto, Saturn in Capricorn, hasn't happened in 500 years. And then the Sun and Mercury join them. And it's stripping down the old paradigms that we took on. Women do this, men do that. Now that's, of course, changed in the last 50 years. But it's also, in my view, how we live our lives. Are we listening to somebody else? Are we trying to please somebody else? Or are we actually only going within? And so that whole relationship part of it is the key to setting yourself free. And I think that partnerships from now on, whether they break apart or come closer, if they're not interdependent, meaning you give full freedom to the person you are with and they extend that to you as a result, you will not be able to move forward in a happy way if you don't do that, because you're dependent on the external instead of the internal. So for me, this is, if there's anything, it is to take silent time, quiet time, to have your girl cave or man cave, whatever it is you need, time away from each other, separate bedrooms, whatever it is, you need that space so you don't get into the drama of, the codependency, which is, it's very easy to do when you live with someone, or even have kids who live with you. It's the same thing. It's not just a partner,
I agree. I believe that everybody should have their cave time, downtime,
Yeah.
On their own, even if they have to take a drive. I know but taking a drive with the radio off and just looking at what's around you as you're driving, of course, the traffic, but sometimes you see the most beautiful sunsets or sunrises, and just being appreciative of what you're taking in while you're, without taking in somebody else's energy.
Yeah. And also getting in touch with Mother Earth now this is a natural subject, but we wear shoes that have rubber in them. So when we walk, we're not picking up the electricity from the earth. So if you can invest, either if you're in California, you can go to the beach and walk barefoot, or you're in a climate like that, invest in shoes that have leather soles. You can get them online and take a walk, because then Mother Earth, the earth's electrical energies are going to come and infuse your body with incredible frequency. But we've lost that. this is what the indigenous people had. They walked with those kinds of shoes, or they walked barefoot, and they were connected. We need to connect again. We're so disconnected. And that's a very easy way, even if you just walk 20 minutes a day with those shoes. And it doesn't have to be on earth, doesn't have to be on sand. It can be on the street or the sidewalk, because you're not impeding that flow from coming through. So that's just one way to just simplify and appreciate where we are. We live on heaven, really. If you look at Earth from Mars or Moon, it looks really heavenly, and we're forgetting that,
I agree. And we're here to live a divine life. We're not here to struggle or to have any of these things that hold us down, block us, interfere with our lives. We just have to get out of our way or disengage from the people who put those blocks, because it's not necessarily innate. You're born with them. You are with some.
Yeah.
But there's also, no, you can't do this, or other people's opinion. Or socializing, where it's like where they just hand down biases, which just tend to stop your flow.
Yeah, because they're given as knowledge that that is the truth. It's not the truth. It truly isn't. It's somebody else's experience, but don't take it on as your own. So this whole thing with the Capricorn thing that I mentioned, the stellium, it is breaking down everything. It's breaking down political systems, financial systems, education, academia. Everything is going through a restructuring now. How are we teaching our children? What is it they're actually learning? And religious as well. It's everything. Spirituality. Not to live in the clouds and say there's nothing negative in the world. Well, yes, there is. You have to protect yourself. It's super important. We gotta understand we live in a world of duality, and we have a choice. And that choice is every moment of the day. Where do I plug in? Right?
Right. And where do we unplug? Because
where do we unplug? Yeah, exactly.
Many of us are plugged in all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we just need to unplug, and sometimes it's hard to unplug, but it's making that concerted effort.
Well, listen within, sometimes just 5 minutes away. Just trust our intuition more. We use our mind too much and say, oh, well, we don't have time. Well, yes, we do. You just take the time.
And we be there. Whatever's going to be there is going to be there when you get back.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm in Wisconsin right now, and I have to tell you, I wish I had sand to put my feet into.
Oh gosh.
I just have snow.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, well, I'll tell you what, we're about to take a break, so let's go to break, and on the other side we will reconnect.
Okay.
So stay tuned, everyone. Don't forget, call in 888-346-9141. Tanya's got a lot of information to share. Thank you.
All right, great segment. All clear. Back in about 2.
That was very strange.
What?
Thank you. The way I said thank you.
It's like you were lost in thought somewhere.
Yeah, I was like, do I want to say more? No, I think because I tend to go on. Yeah, I'm sorry I'm just texting something right now. But it's all positive. Okay. There we go. So this is, I tell you, this is exciting me in a way that, because this is so new and different, and so they're so layered. I like the layers so much. So,
yeah, it's really fun. It's really fun. It's so creative too, because it's constantly shifting and changing.
Which I love this. So when you say everything is breaking down with the stellium,
yeah.
But it's breaking down to be rebuilt.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. So Capricorn represents the father. It's a very masculine sign. It's about your career and success and leadership. And so 500 years ago, when the stellium happened, Martin Luther broke away from the Catholic Church. That was a big moment, right? So now it's happening in an even bigger way. And so what's going to happen, people are going to break away from the old structures. They're not going to put up with what they thought they had to anymore. And it's a good thing because we need to like purge a lot, that sort of kept us from being free. We're not, we were beholden on other people's ideas of what we should be doing and how we should be doing it. So yeah, that's what's being stripped. It's really exciting. That's why there's a lot of change and turmoil right now, but it's all good. It's all good.
When you were talking about the breakdown, I just, obviously the trials are on, the hearings are going, and it's just like you just see this whole structure just failing.
It's not working.
No, it's not working. Not the way it is today.
No.
And so that's what came to my mind, because I just saw the whole thing just breaking down.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get political on the show. I don't tend to like to get political in my professional life because
no, it's not good because it polarizes people right away.
Well, it does. And it's not a good or bad situation in terms of, I don't want to put that out there. It's just not where my energy is. Yes, Matt.
Yep. Sorry to jump in, but we are just about to come back.
Thank you.
You are listening to Guided Spirit Conversations. To reach Marla Goldberg or her guest today, you're invited to call in to the program at 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. If you'd rather send an email, the address is guidedspiritconversations@gmail.com. Now, back to this week's program.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for sticking around. I have Tanya Gabriel here. So if you've just joined me, let me tell you a little bit about Tanya. She is amazing. Spiritual intuitive, personal growth leader. She's been featured on periodicals like New York Times, Los Angeles Times, USA Today. She is the founder and creator of Numerology Academy, which I might have to join, and the founder and host of her podcast, Star Code. Tanya's new book, The Ultimate Guide to Numerology, unlocks the sacred messages of birthdays, names, addresses, and so much more. But before we bring Tanya back, well, we're going to bring her back, but it's charity shout out time. So we're going to talk about the charity and then we'll have more conversation. Tanya's charity is classicsforkids.org. Can you share, Tanya, about Classics for Kids?
Well, my first love is music. And I am a classical musician, and I can tell you that in our country, the arts in general, not just classical music, but anything to do with the arts, has been removed from our education system. And so kids who are, for example, musical are not given instruments. They don't even know about classical music. So this charity is beautiful. It brings instruments like violins and cellos into schools so that children can discover whether they resonate or not. And even just learning music activates your internal life and your brain in a way that is so beautiful. It really enhances life. So I believe in introducing kids to this beautiful resource of sound and beauty, and then allowing those who have the potential to pursue it, because it's expensive. These instruments are not cheap. And so we need help because our country does not support the arts at the educational level. So that's my charity.
Not anymore. And also the music will help you open up your mind, your creativity, your receptivity, which allows you to manifest.
Yeah.
It really teaches your mind to be expansive.
And imaginative and feel. It opens all those centers that we don't open, in math class and English class. So it's very important for the sentient being to be exposed to any arts, drawing, writing, anything to do with beauty and spirituality. That's really, and to me, music is the highest form because you can't even explain it. It's sound. It's visceral. It impacts you in incredible ways. So yeah.
And it's like the angelic choir. There is an angelic choir. They sing. They send you music. But we have a caller. So Teresa, is on the line. Teresa, welcome. Okay.
Hello.
Hello. Is this Teresa?
Hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
now I can hear you. Meet Tanya.
Okay. Hi, Tanya.
Hi. What's your question?
So my question is, as a parent, what is like the best thing to consider, the thing you should be considering when choosing a name for your child?
Well, it's something you have to get checked. So, the name is very, very important. The destiny number, which is the number of the birth certificate name, describes the child's career environment, basically where their divine mission, how it will be fulfilled. And then the current name that comes from that birth certificate name needs to be checked. Is it fortunate or not? So you need to just have either a reading or a consultation or a blueprint created for the child, right? To get the answer to your question.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not something I can, unless you have names for me, I can check right now. I can't give you like, oh, you have to do this or that, because it just depends. It's a frequency, right? So I have to check each one individually, or somebody else does. Yeah.
So I'm due in July with a little girl, and so we've picked out the name Naomi Olivia.
Okay. I can check that, but I need the last name too, though.
Scott Reed.
Scott with two T's? Two E's. Okay.
Yeah, Scott with two T's and Reed with two E's.
Okay, so, and what would you call her? The current name. What would you go, what would she go by?
Naomi.
Naomi Reed, Naomi Scott Reed.
Yes.
Which one?
Scott Reed.
Scott Reed. Okay. So the destiny number would be 9413, which is the divine feminine number. It's very powerful. 13 lunar cycles in a year, 13 weeks in a season. It's connected to the divine feminine cycles and empowerment and transformation. The current name, completely different calculation. Let me just make sure here. So 7 plus 5.
That was so fast.
Okay, the current name 5 and 7 and 5. Yes, it's very, very fortunate. It's 17. It's the immortality number. So extremely, it's really the most powerful number there is. It means she'll leave a legacy behind. So go by Naomi Scott Reed. Don't change it. Don't put middle initials, and she'll be good to go.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
You too. So let me ask this question, because can you do this for year, like the whole year or the whole decade, given the way the movement of the stars are and what's going on? Can you give some insight into 2020 and the decade of the 20s?
Yeah, 2020 is a breakthrough year of awakening. It is first of all, we all know 2020 vision means to see things. We're going to see things this year about ourselves and about the world around us that we have not seen before. So in the astrology, the year started with a powerful eclipse 2 days before that stellium I mentioned. Wow. And then later in the year, on the 4th of the 4th, we're having one of the most fortunate meetings. Pluto and Jupiter are coming together, and that means fortune, abundance, everything, good luck, empowerment, courage. And then later in the year, in December 21st, which is the solstice, I know I'm giving you a big...
And my birthday.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God. On that day, now remember, 12/21/2012, Mayan calendar ends, 26,000 year cycle begins, right? Well, exactly 8 years later, December 12th, 2020, the Aquarian age begins, because Jupiter and Saturn are conjunct. Jupiter and Saturn are really describe the cycles of life. Saturn being Chronos and the time, and Jupiter being expansion and joy. So they're coming together at 0 degrees Aquarius. That means they're entering Aquarius at the exact same time. They merge on the 21st of December, 2020. And so this whole year is like ramping up to enter the 2000 year age, the Aquarian age, which happens on your birthday, 2020. And it's an amazing, amazing year. This whole decade is stunning. It's going to change everything because look, we're in the 2000s. It's numerology now. We were in the ones for 1,000 years. That's about me. It's more male. It's more driven. 2 is balance, harmony. It's very feminine. It's let's discover how we can get along. Let's share. Let's be compassionate. And the 2020s are the first decade of the 2000s where we got the 2s. The only decade really. So 2020 is huge. It's so beautiful. Yeah.
So the divine feminine. So you'd seem there'd be more nurturing going on than there has been in past decades.
Listening, nurturing, using your intuition. See, the 2 is also you and how you listen and connect to source, to the divine. That's the most important relationship we have. And 20 is about that awareness, that awakening. That, oh my gosh, my guides are always here. I always have this ability to listen. I never have to get frustrated or wonder what to do. So 2020s will allow people to have that empowerment from within. And that's the awakening.
I absolutely love that. Not because it starts on my birthday, but because we have a whole decade of really great things to look forward to.
Yeah.
And now what about, so you have these people who walk around like Henny Penny. Do you remember Henny Penny?
No.
Henny Penny, with the cloud above the head. It's, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. It's just an old, I think it's a nursery rhyme or something. But there are people that walk around like that, and all they do is have their black cloud over them, and they think in foreboding ways and negative ways. How can they shift? I mean, I'm not asking you to tell me how they shift their thinking, but how could the 20s help people with that mindset realize how great the future is for them?
Well, when people walk around like that, they're worried, right? They're concerned. And so when you're absolutely conscious, you actually don't project into the future because you're just focused on right now. So you're basically saying, I don't know what's going to happen. And you're okay with it. You're okay with not knowing because you're trusting. So people who project, who feel miserable because they're basing everything on the past experience and projecting that into the future, basically all they need to do, and I know this sounds easier said than done, but you have to surrender. You have to say, I don't know. And you have to also understand something really important, that the conclusions you come to based only on thought, which is memory, can prevent your ability to consciously experience life now. Meaning, do you need an explanation for what's going on, or are you willing to explore? If you want only an explanation, you'll pick up belief systems and everything you don't know, you're going to substitute a belief system for that. I believe this, you believe that, and that's how we cause separation, right?
Yes.
And if you're in a place of not knowing, then you become a seeker, and that means a lot of possibilities open up, and you start using your intuition, your imagination, your creativity. You engage, and engagement is the key here, because when you become subservient to worry, you're disengaged. So seeking now becomes your living reality. And then you understand, oh my God, the beliefs I had, I can only have with certain people, the people who are like me. But
Right.
seekers, they just explore and they just use their intelligence and they put it to full use. So that's the thing, is let go of your urge to want to control and understand the universe is perfect. And all you have to do is seek and focus on what it is you love, what brings you joy, and everything will be taken care of. So it's get out of your mind and get into your heart, basically.
I love that. And it's so true. And we're coming to a close of the show. So I want to give everybody your information. But that was a great explanation. I love it. So reach out to Tanya, look her up at TanyaGabriel.com, and that's TANIAGABRIELLE.com. She's on Facebook at Tanya Gabriel Official, or you can find her on Instagram at Tanya_Gabriel. And remember, please, that she has a weekly star code video forecast on her website. And she also has a free online masterclass, Astronumerology, Discover Your Divine Blueprint. And you can get instant access at tanyagabriel.com/numbers. So Tanya, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you being here and sharing so much great information and great energy. I want to thank Voice America and everybody there. Thank you so much. To Teresa Scott Reed, my assistant, right hand, left hand, grateful for you every single day. And I'm grateful for you, the listeners, for participating, taking time out of your life, out of your day to listen to this podcast. I truly feel blessed by having you follow me. I also hope that you are able to pick up something to incorporate in your life, enhance it, tweak it, whatever your life needs, because that's what the show is trying to do. I am so grateful for you all and say thank you. Till next week, I send you love, I send you blessings, and I send you gratitude. Take care and have a wonderful week. Bye for now.
And we're